We begin in, and the family of the late Professor Awoonor has described the death of their relative as shocking and devastating. A relative, Kofi Anyudoho, says a delegation has been sent to Kenya to retrieve the body of the late Professor. Sandra Marcoy reports.
This was a situation at the late Professor Kofi Awoonor's residence. Family and friends had trooped in to sympathize with the family. A relative, Kofi Anyudoho, explains the family is yet to formally confirm the death of their relative.
Initially, we were told they were still searching for him. So we were hoping that they will find him and find him alive. So there's a sense in which even now we are still waiting. Government has released an official statement, but the family has sent a delegation. According to our own traditions, we have to do our own biometric verification. So we are waiting for, word from the delegation that we sent.
He also spoke about the current state of the son in Kenya.
And the son was also slightly wounded, but he has been treated. He was treated and discharged almost immediately. I spoke to him 2 nights ago. He was fine. He's staying with a family member who went for him from the hotel.
We spoke to friends and family.
I thought I was in a dream, actually. And later I touched my head and realized that I knew what was going on. But I was shocked that at this time of our independence, because he was one of the great, I would say, revolutionaries in the early days. He was doing almost everything. And I became confused. I have not fully recovered yet from that.
I was a shock waking up and hearing that he was gone. And incidentally, he died just at the same time as one of Ghana's greatest other writers called Henry Ofori. What I'm reading all over the net and everything, I just realized that, he's been killed, but it looks like what he stood for cannot vanish. And it's remarkable that he died on Nkrumah's birthday, which I'm sure, as a member of the Council of State, he was a member of those who approved of that day to become a holiday. And being an Nkrumah and dying on such a day, I'm sure he has a message for all of us. And I hope this message is going to ensure that Al-Shabaab and all that they are doing will come to naught, and there will be a change in the way we do things. Because he wrote a lot. And if you look at a lot of the poems he wrote, like This World, My Brother, it looks like he foresaw a lot of these things.
I say that.
You're watching Midday Live on TV3, and we'll be talking more about the incident in Kenya, where on Saturday gunmen stormed the Westgate Mall, and so far they are holding some 170 over 100 victims to hostage, and we do understand that 3 of the gunmen have been killed. 2 of them is reported to be Americans. There's also a Brit in the midst. Now I have been joined in the studio to delve more on this, especially look at domestic terrorism, and is Irbad Ibrahim, and he is an expert in the Middle East and Iran politics. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Sliver of correction. To the Middle Eastern political Islam.
Islam.
I'm not limited to Iran.
All right. Middle East and
political Islam.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome.
What have you gathered? From what's happening?
So far, the latest information we have from Kenya is that, and they are at the twilight of the crisis. They are carrying out mop-up exercises in there, and the rhetoric that is coming from UN headquarters seems to me that maybe the United Nations wants to escalate the conflict further. The special UN envoy to Somalia, Nicholas K., has said the UN will intensify its campaign against Al-Shabaab, but they will not lose sight of the fact that there can't be only a military solution to the crisis, and there should be a political approach. That is what most of us are advocating. You don't easily kill off a militancy. You should sit around the negotiation table and then talk, because it's better
because of the ramifications that could come up if you just decide to kill them on like that.
Exactly. You know, when you attack them head on, they only melt into the countryside. They've done that over and over again. Al-Shabaab did not start as Al-Shabaab. It was part of the Union of Islamic Courts. So as they lick their wounds, they keep a low profile and recruit more young people, then rebrand and relaunch an attack again. So you could kill Al-Shabaab, go in and then kill the people who perpetrated the crime. I think the carrot and stick approach, which is a melange of military and diplomatic efforts, should be adopted. But that notwithstanding, the international community should not live in the fool's paradise, thinking that there can only be a military solution to the crisis.
Are you surprised that, I mean, the two Americans and a Brit have been found to be part of this?
It's not a surprise at all. Already, when you look at the middle tier leadership of Al-Shabaab, there is a young man from the US. His name is Abu Mansour al-Amriki. He has trained with Al-Shabaab and then carried out attacks against AMISOM forces for so long. So these are the category of people the CIA calls the homegrown terrorists. They empathize with their brethren who are in the theater of warfare that are getting slaughtered, and therefore they would also want to take their own pound of flesh from those carrying out those attacks. So it's not a surprise to me, but the Kenyan security forces could have dealt with the situation in a much better way. They say coming events cast their shadows. There were sporadic attacks against Kenya along the border of the border town of Garissa, which is between Somalia and Kenya. Therefore, they should have beefed up security. African forces should learn that counterinsurgency should be intelligence-driven.
Sure. Absolutely. Now, I wanted to ask, before we talk about even Ghana and how prepared we are, now, there's also the concern that the militants, some of them perhaps could even be in Mufti and could be on the loose, because you're talking about 350,000 square feet, and that is serious.
It's a huge place. The Westgate Mall it comprises 80 shops. It's a big place.
Absolutely.
And certainly that is why there are still, you know, billows of smoke coming from the place. Sure. The fight is not over. And the people have made an oath to fight to the death. Sure. So we can't negotiate with the ragtag army of people we are fighting currently. Sure. But when the dust finally settles, you know, the vicious cycle of mutual destruction between the international community and militant Islam has to come to an end. Look, when you, for 12 years, we have fought them, and they keep rebranding and coming back. So when this episode is over, perhaps we can say they are human beings. They have demands. So we should make conciliatory moves so that we meet at a middle path, the international community and those people. Boko Haram, now jihad, global jihad, is no longer a thing of Afghanistan and Pakistan. The African continent has to do an introspection. Our leaders and military commanders should seek other ways of resolving the situation. North Africa is volatile. Sure. East Africa is volatile. Absolutely. Because Kenya has been hit. And then West Africa has Boko Haram.
Yes.
And my greatest fear, I've been saying this over the past 24 hours, in whatever way we contribute to the resolution of the Nigerian crisis, Ghana should never have boots on the ground. The deployment of ever three Fanti-speaking people on Nigerian soil will give them reason to attack us. And when you look around Accra, we have a Flagstaff House that is a seat to the government. Commuters in church are able to get a sneak peek into that. And a police headquarters that is just by the road. So our defenses are not strong enough, and therefore we shouldn't be at daggers drawn. This enemy is quite unique. And if you don't understand your enemy, how can you fight and win against him?
I agree
so therefore, some research should go into jihad. What is the psyche of the people who are carrying out atrocious and barbaric acts, like the unfortunate act we have seen in Kenya recently?
All right. We've already delved into Ghana. Now, let's talk more about Ghana's security. I mean, do you think there's an anti-terrorism agency? I'm yet to find out what they do, what sort of intelligence they gather. But do you think that, I mean, just by looking at what we're experiencing, we are capable?
Thank God Ghana is a bastion of peace in the West African sub-region. We have a diligent police force and a robust army that is on standby to protect the nation. But that notwithstanding, wars do not happen in a vacuum. you have to create the combustible mix that precipitates war. And at this level, Ghana has not, you know, hurt any country. I don't think Ghana is under the radar of Boko Haram. That is why I'm cautioning against any military intervention.
But your association and relations sort of has that sort of tendency to drive you into that.
To give you the predisposition to be attacked by those people, because once bitten, twice shy. The countries that have gotten involved have had the backlash from the militants. So it is up to us to revise our notes. We can logistically support the Nigerian government, and if it so happens that ECOWAS wants to deploy any force in there, there are other ways we can support, but we should never have Ghanaian boots on the ground, because the blood of Ghanaians is so special to me. I don't want even a drop to be spilled.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And you heard Ibrahim, he's an expert Middle East and political Islam, right? Thank you very much for sharing with us what Ghana should be learning and should be doing to avoid any terrorist attack.